in Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. And before we start talking about that, we need to understand which ones are the three main components or the three main areas that we need to talk about when we start discussions over budgeting in D365 F&O. The first one and the main one of these three areas is budget register entries. Budget register entries basically are the lines that every year we as a company, we're going to be dropping into the system. Okay. Those lines will specify which accounts are going to be subject to our budget and how much money will we have available during an exercise. The next step, it's budget control framework. It's how do we define which accounts, which thresholds do we have, which budget users are going to be able to override a budget control setup. Here, the budget control framework at the end of the day, it's going to control the rules that the system is going to take in account to measure if any one of our encumbrances or any one of our processes such as purchase orders, such as invoice journals, such as GL journals, which ones of those are going to be subject to budget review. At the end of the day, finance and operations is a flexible solution that if you enable, that allows you to handle budget just for certain criteria. You don't need to enable the budget control for all your chart of accounts, right? The system allows you to define which part of your chart of accounts is going to be enabled for budget control. The third one is budget planning, which is the most efficient way that Dynamics 365 F&O has to create a budget. Budget planning could be done based on my prior year's experience, right? So it's like, okay, so let's calculate the standard deviation between what I spent in 2017 and 2018 so the system can give me a reasonable 2019 or 2020 budget based on all the expenditure and all the revenue that we were generating during last year's. So that's part of budget planning. Today's session is going to be focused on the first two concepts, budget register entry and budget control framework. So inside finance and operations, once we jump into the tool, you will start looking to one particular thing that it's called workspace and analytics for ledger, budget, and forecast. At the end of the day, this is just a repository of all the information that the system it's providing to a user in order to make their work better and faster. So in this screen, you will be able to see that how with just making a click on this workspace, we have access to all the draft budget register entries that have not been approved. We can see purchase orders that are over the budget. We can have clicks related to inquiries such as the actual versus budget. Okay, and also you will have an analytics area here which can show you Power BI reports. Okay, so this is supposed to be my main activities as a budget controller, right? So this is usually it's more used at the end of our at the beginning of our fiscal year, but we have all the time the insights about what's going on with our budget. So we were saying and we were talking about budget register entries, and here's what I was telling you is in this screen you will be able to see which lines, right, which accounts and how much money do we have for each one of those. So in this scenario, these three accounts that we are showing in this screen are going to be subject to budget control. And also, it's not just the account. We have three different segments in here. We have accounts, we have departments, and we have cost centers. So there are three different segments that are going to be evaluated at the budget level. And each one of these segments is going to be able to have an amount during a specific date. Okay, so in this scenario, this is my December budget. Okay, we can also drop the entire month by month budget under the budget register entries. Something important to mention is that there are statuses. Every time we generate a budget register entry, we have a budget register entry status and we have a workflow status. Budget register entry status is going to start as a draft And once we have completed all the required approvals and we transfer it to the GL, well, that is going to change from draft to completed. Also, the workflow status in this scenario, you can see it says not submitted. That's because we haven't clicked the button submit to send this for a review, to send this register entry to a review and to an approval process. So let's move on and let's talk about, okay, budget, what kind of integration can we have with uh, Office tools, right? Do I need to type every year the budget, or do I have a way to upload by using Excel a budget for my next year? So the answer is yes. Since Microsoft Dynamics is part of uh, has all these integrations with Microsoft Office programs, well, one of those is Excel, of course. So in this screen, you can see how we can have templates, okay, and we can refresh and publish information from Excel to finance and operations. Workflow approvals. In this screen, basically, we are just showing that our workflow, it's going to be just subject to one step of approval, right? Multiple customers have different needs, right? So probably we can have approvals by threshold. We can have approvals by department. We can say before we really approve that this budget is going to be enabled for the next year, someone needs to review it, and that can have multiple scenarios. Depending on the department, probably one employee is going to, I don't know, the department leader is going to be approving his department budget, and other ones are going to be approving their budget based on thresholds. Probably you need a two-step approval, right? So this is very different across different companies, but F&O, it's already designed to cover all the different needs that a company can have for workflow approvals. So the next thing that we were talking about is budget control configuration. One important thing here is F&O allows you to set up how do you want to control your budget, and that's what flexibility means. So in this area, you can see how I have all the different things that are going to be part of my subtraction of budget on the right side. So I'm saying that I will have actual expenditures here. I will have unposted actual expenditures. So if I just type in a journal, that journal is going to be subject of reducing the amount that I have of my budget. So that journal is going to, even if it's not posted, it's going to subtract the amount from the budget. So we have encumbrances for purchase orders. We have pre-encumbrances for purchase requisitions. So at the time you start working with finance and operations, you need to define which amounts you want to subtract from your budget and which ones you don't. And same thing is which amounts do you want to add up. On the left side, you can see that we are adding up original budgets, we are adding up budget reservations, and we are also taking in account budget transfers. So this means, yes, we can do revisions from original budgets, and we can also transfer money from one account to another, okay, via a budget transfer. Okay. So other of the things that are, it's a common question between our customers. It's like, okay, yeah, I want to use budget control, but I don't want to use budget control for all my chart of accounts. I want to define a segment of my chart of accounts and my financial dimensions to be control only. So in this scenario, by using what we call budget control rules, we can define as many combinations as we need. So you will be able to see here that we have a main account. It's between and includes a range of data. So this means that all the accounts that are included in this range are going to be subject to budget. All the other accounts from your COA won't be subject to budget. These can handle combinations between multiple accounts, multiple departments, multiple business units, okay, and by fiscal year. So this is the flexibility that F&O has to offer here. And at the end of the day, well, what I'm showing you here is just an actual versus budget basic report or inquiry, okay? So basically we select what's the level of the financial dimensions that we want to see. So in this scenario, it's main account plus business unit plus department, and the system is going to show you what's the revised budget, what's the actual amount that has been spent, and that is going to take us to a percentage of usage. Okay, this is another thing that we usually run every month to see what's the status of our main accounts by departments. Okay, how much money have they have been using um, from their budget. So this is where we are going to stop the PowerPoint, and we will jump right away to our finance and operations environment. So I was telling you, the first thing that we need to know is how do we work with budget? Is there a place where we can have information just accumulated or a repository of different information that can give us insight right away of how we are doing with budget, and also things that allow us to create new budgets easily? So the answer is yes, you have this workspace called Ledger Budgets and Forecast, right? So in here I can see right away all the different draft budget entries that haven't been submitted for approval, right? I can see purchase orders that are over the budget. So right now it appears blank, and we are going to do an exercise where we are going to run one that is going to be over the budget. Okay, so other of the things that we can do, we can select different cycles, right? So I want to see information from 2016. Good. You just need to select the 2016, and you can go back and forward as much as you can, right? So in this scenario, let's take a look to the analytics. The analytics right now are going to open, or what this is going to open, it's a Power BI report that it's going to show you kind of the actual versus expenditure. This scenario, we just have actual numbers under the revenue and under the expenses, right? All this is based on different filters that you can have over here. So you can see the main accounts, we're generating everything, the period we're generating everything across this budget cycle, okay? So this is kind of the things that we can have from here. We can also generate here our inquiries for actual versus budget. So everything is in one side, in one same screen. So in order to run a comparison between the budget that has been used, we can just select our dimension set, our budget model. This gives me the dates, and I just hit apply parameters. And now the system is going to throw me every single expenditure that has been performed by financial dimension. I'm going to just start looking to the accounts that start with 6. I will see how I have $20,000 here, $30,000 here, 36 here, and just $2,000 used. Okay, so I will start having my percentages. Okay, so this is how we can start evaluating how we are doing across the budget here. Now, let's talk about the budget entries. And I'm actually going back here. I'm going to go to the Ledger Budget and Forecast, and I will generate a budget register entry from here. In order to do that, I just need to click on that plus button. The system is going to tell me, okay, what's going to be the default date for these transactions. So let's say I'm going to perform budget for November 19, right? And my budget model is going to be FY 2019. My budget code is going to be an original budget. Why do we have different codes? Because every single type of transaction can have a different approval. Okay, so that's basically why we select a budget code. Okay, under our account entries, we can just come here and hit add line, and you will see how the date is the same one. The account structure, we need to select the account structure I want to evaluate in this scenario is our P&L structure. And your financial dimension values, here is where you start selecting which accounts or how much money do you have in your budget for salaries, manufacturing, for absorb, for selling expense. Let's say I have advertising expenditure, okay, and this is going to be based on my home business unit, and this is for sales and marketing, okay. So then my next step is just to put an amount, $6,000 for this month, right? Hey, do I need to click another line and let's say I will select a different account? Yes, you have this option all the time to do one by one. So let's take a look at which other account we do have. We will select conference account, right? And we're going to select home, and we're going to select sales and marketing. then I'm going to assign $10,000 here. Okay. Now I really don't want to go one by one. I want to have a way to copy something and paste so this can be faster. So in order to do that, our recommendation is you have this option called Open in Excel, or you also have an office that it's called Budget Account Entries. So let's hit this Open in Excel and see let's see what happens with this action. So the system will tell me, okay, do you want to download? Yes, I will open this Excel spreadsheet. Okay. By doing this, what the system did was to generate this Excel template. And now by hitting that enable editing, Excel is connecting right away with finance and operations. And it's going to retrieve the two lines that I have here. Okay. So first thing, I don't see my financial dimensions here. You look like just by pointing this, the system open or Excel opens chart of accounts that we have available for finance and operations, right? So what happens if I need to add a new field for this? Well, we can design our template all the time, okay? So I will hit the design button and now the system will look for the tables that are related to this template and I will add my dimension values because in this template I cannot see right away the business unit or the department, so I need to add that field. We'll hit the add button, hit update, okay, and then I will hit that I'm done and I will ask for this to be refresh, right? So you will see a new column in our template now, our column L, okay? So let's say that you want to copy these, right? But just for different periods. What you can do is you can do this, right? And then probably this one it's going to be 10. This one is going to be 9, right? Of course, we can just copy and paste if I had a template ready. Okay, so I'm just going to be changing dates right now. And then I will send this back to F&O. So I'm just assuming that I will have these amounts per month, okay, and I will use, let's say, $5,000 here, $3,000 here. You can see how the expense amount starts moving, right, on the very top. So I will just copy this ones and leave it like that, okay? So right now, my budget register entry is going to be for $64,000. And what I need to do here is I just need to click this publish button. Okay, so I will hit the publish button and it says that it doesn't contain something, of course. So let's do this again. Oh, it says contains duplicate entries. So I will just remove this. So all the validations that we have here, let me go here. Let me hit this publish button. Well, I think it's all about the account. Even though this is a different date, I will select this one. And for this one, I will select 501. Okay, so I will change this to 501 and then I will change my next to 601400. Okay, so let's do it in this way. Okay, so all the validations that are part of our finance and operations get into the Excel as well. So you have no risk uploading things that cannot be uploaded. Huh. Let me try to refresh this again. It's going to come back to the original part. So I'm going to upload this to 58,000. Okay. I'm going to upload this to 15,000. Okay. And let's see if I can hit publish now. Oh, now it's going to be publishing. Oh, it's not inserting lines, but anyway. So we're going to be able to see that this one now, if I go back to my finance and operations screen, these amounts, if I refresh, must be different. Okay, so that's basically how we can download information and upload information into F&O. Okay, so after this, we just need to say let's submit this for work for approval, right? And this is going to be a workflow for the webinar, okay? So again, it's based on the departments or the business units of the thresholds and the amounts, we will be able to define who needs to approve this transaction, okay? So this is a batch that it's running behind the scenes, right? Right now the system already read that it's me who needs to approve this budget, and I have the opportunity to hit the approve button. Okay, I will approve it. And once this workflow gets approved, this button called update budget balances, it's going to be ready to be clicked. So let's give it a couple of seconds and see. In the meantime, I'm going to show you how we can see the traceability of this workflow approval. So every time we generate a workflow, doesn't matter the module, the system will start recording what are the different steps that we've been performing. So I submitted at this time, it was assigned by the system at this time, so just 15 seconds later, and an approve action was taken from me. And well, basically that approval, it's just in here. It says that it has been completed. Okay, so you can see the comment that I put here at the very beginning. It says webinar. So right now our workflow should be completed and our button must be enabled. I'm going to refresh this. Now the update budget balances, it's enabled. I hit this one and now I can formally say that these numbers are part of my budget. So first thing, we generate our entry. Second part, we generate our submit, or we submit our workflow and it gets approved. And the third one is we just have the entry done. Now we can take a look at some exercises, right? So for this scenario, what we're going to do is I'm going to refresh this and I'm going through a purchase order. Okay, I'm going to take a look at the purchase order. So I have my purchase order 1975. Okay, this purchase order, it's on a draft status, right? And right now I have a line. I'm going to buy highlighters for the office. And I have a net amount of $10,000 for my highlighter. So it's expensive highlighter. So if I come here to the top of my POs, I have an option to call manage budget and I can perform my budget checking. Right now, I have no problems. Everything is green, right? What if I increase the unit price of this purchase order? I will hit the edit button. Okay, as I told you, this is in draft. So I'm still preparing it. I'm going to say that every highlighter is going to be a $5,000 highlighter. If I come here, now I have $500,000 for my expenditure. I'll go here and hit perform my budget checking. And of course, we don't have that type of money to buy highlighters, right? So it's telling me that I am exceeding my budget limit for $475,000. Okay, so option one, I can just say, okay, now since I know that these ones are $5,000 each one, well, I'm just going to buy two because I don't have enough money to perform or to purchase these highlighters, right? So I will perform this one. Now my budget is cleared. Or my second option is to request money in order to purchase these highlighters, right? Because I need this, right? Let's say this is my need and I really need to have at least 50 highlighters, which is going to put me over the budget anyway. So how do we perform that? I can click here, budget performance review. We are running out, right? So, but if I have enough permissions to request this budget, I can just come here to what we call budget check errors or warnings and hit this button, okay? The system is telling me that the threshold that I am over is 227. So I will hit create budget request. By doing this, I can just put a comment for the need. This is going to be our webinar comment, okay? And I can create my budget request for $225,000, right? So a user with enough permissions, okay, can create a budget request, okay? And now a controller of the budget, what they are going to be able to see is that budget request created as a budget register entry. Okay, so you can see how this is a draft, right? The source document, it's our PO, okay? So this budget, it's going to be reserved for that PO, okay? It's saying that, yep, you can, it's everything everything that is required, this account, department, it's here. So you can say, I'm in a good mood, I can approve it, and I hit update my budget balances, right? So I can say, okay, so I will allocate this $225,000. Of course, all this is managed by permissions. All this is managed by other stuff. So it's saying here the sum of the account entries is not zero and transfer stop, cancel the entry. Okay, so we have a restriction in our budget control that will stop us to use this type of money. Okay, so this is something I wanted to show you is even though we can request it, okay, our budget control is going to stop us if we have any kind of issue running these transactions. Okay, so I just did it from that purchase order. That's the first one. So what I can do in here is, okay, so let's just finish this exercise. I'm just going to put one. Okay, I will run my budget control so we can pass this, and I will just send it to my workflow because I'm done. I think I have everything to do with my purchase order. I will submit my PO so this can go through my vendor. Okay, so the next exercise that I just wanted to show you is how we can do this from, let's say, a regular expenditure, right? So I have for this an invoice journal. This invoice journal, let's say this is utilities, right? In this scenario, I am going to spend $100 for this utility. I will say functions, I'm sorry, inquiries, budget check, error warnings. So right now we have an error there. Okay, I'm just going to validate my journal and see, let's see what the system has to say about this one. If I'm over the budget, I will have an error here. Okay, so it says operation completed. What about if I put $1,000,000? Well, 100,000. I don't think I have this type of money on my budget. So same thing is in here, I am $90,000 exceeded. Okay, so again, is all the setups and the entries that we created are stopping me to continue to record certain processes. So I cannot enter this invoice, so I cannot pay to my vendor. Okay, option one, same thing is it's my budget wrong. Let's ask from here for the same thing. Budget check, create a budget request. This is going to be $90,000. Create a budget request, and this is here. Now, we are having communication between one department and another. So this is what we have today for you as a budget control session. So thank you very much for taking the time and joining to the webinar, and see you later.